Hey everyone, it's Random Noob, and today I have my patch rundown video. This patch was absolutely massive, so I'm gonna just run through the things that I thought were the big changes in it, including like item store and balance of champions. Like, there's a lot of changes, and a lot of them are minor changes. So I did run through the entire patch on stream yesterday, so I will put a link to that below if you want to see me talk about every single little change. But this video is going to be like a quick rundown as fast as I possibly can, and it still might go long because there's a lot of things to talk about in this patch. So if you want to know what's going on in the patch, you want to know the major juice, you came to the right place. So first of all, the patch has a lot of cool like new content things like skins. The community battle pass is really cool. Golden Barrack, Golden Tiberius, they're all really cool. If you guys wanted to see that, I'll put a link to the patch notes as well, so you guys can go check out all that stuff. There are a few new cool things I want to bring up. The Mount Leans, that's really cool. They finally brought that to Paladins from Realm. I wondered if they were ever going to do that, so it's kind of cool they did. That's some new content. The new VGS wheel, I think them updating that for Paladins is going to be good in the long run. I know a lot of people are kind of hating it and they're going to have to relearn it and stuff like that, but I think in the long run, it being updated specifically for Paladins is a good thing for everyone. Another thing they did is change how the Battle Pass works, in which you can now completely buy the new Battle Pass if you save all your crystals throughout. You do not have to log in every day. I'm so happy about that. Reward players for playing the game, not for logging in. And I think Hyra's hit the nail on the head with that. I'm not really sure how it's going to work if they're giving away free battle passes every single one. I guess they're hoping to make money on their other skins and people just playing the game and wanting to support it, which is cool. I think it is a good step in the right direction for monetization for this game, and I'm pretty happy about that. So that's pretty much the main things that changed in terms of just general changes. So let's hop into balance. First off, they're changing the item store completely, like absolutely insanely completely. They want to make it so that everyone can get like a full build by the end of the game. Which I don't know how much I like that because in long games you already were getting pretty much near full build. Obviously, I don't think I ever got full build once, or like maybe like some people will get it like one time and all the times playing the game. But that was cool. Like when you did get a full build, it was like, oh my gosh, I got a full build. I think now it's gonna be a little less sparse. You're gonna get those full builds a lot more. So what they're doing is they're increasing starting credits and pretty much reducing prices across the board for almost every single item. And they did throw some nerfs in there. The big nerfs are to resilience. Illuminate one doesn't really matter. Master Riding they completely buffed, which is insane. It's pretty good for off tanks because off tanks are getting pretty big nerfs in this patch. So them upgrading Master Riding, sure, it's whatever. I'm not a huge fan of the change. I would have liked to just keep it at 300, but if they want to spice stuff up, I think pretty much everyone's gonna buy Master Riding now at this price. Morale boost they nerfed as well as reduced the price. Nimble they nerfed it as well as reduced the price. Chronos they straight up just buffed it. I'm not too sure why they did this. I think a lot of people are gonna be picking up Chronos now, especially healers. Obviously they already were, and now they're just gonna be even happier. So overall, I'm not really sure about the Chronos change. I'm not a big fan of it as well as the Master Riding change. I wish they would have just kept those items the same if they're not going to change them. If they wanted to nerf it a tad bit, I don't know how you would nerf those. I guess Master Riding was you could nerf like 5% per level, but Chronos, I don't know. I think just keep the price of Chronos the same. I think it was already a really good item at that price, and some people wanted to pick it up. I don't know. Maybe I kind of understand that some champions were like on the edge and they would never buy it, and now that it's cheaper, they're probably gonna buy it a lot more. The big changes in this patch, though, red item changes were pretty huge, pretty big nerfs for Bulldozer and Wrecker. The Bulldozer change, I think they realized Bulldozer was just hard countering the things it countered way too hard. Like Luna Dog or Amani Dragon were just completely getting 100% negated by an item. And for how cheap it was, I think they realized it was a little too strong. So I'm actually kind of cool with the Bulldozer change. It's really not that much of a nerf. Now here is where I'm not really liking this item store change that much. Wrecker getting completely destroyed. Wrecker is now 20, 40, 60% at tier 3. They reduced the price, but reducing the price for that much of a nerf doesn't really seem fair. As you guys will see later in this video, they're nerfing shield health for tanks across the board, so shields are actually weaker. So they're nerfing Wrecker to compensate, but they're nerfing Wrecker a lot more than they nerf shields. So what this is gonna do is people just aren't gonna buy Wrecker. Like your damages are just gonna be able to kill shields, like Drogos or EV. They're just gonna be able to kill shields without Wrecker. And maybe if they need a little bit help, they'll buy like Wrecker 1. So like Drogos is 950 rocket around 1,000 will go to like what 1,100, 1,200. That's really not that much. Like if the shield, let's say this for example, let's say a shield has 3,000 health. Drogo's will not quite three-shot that in 3 shots without a Genos pocket. It will take 4 shots. If you buy Wrecker 1, it'll now take 3 shots. But, like, if you don't buy Wrecker 1, it'll take 3 shots, and if anyone else on your team just, like, touches it barely, it's dead. So why buy Wrecker 1? Just save that item slot for something else. It's really quite weird. I think these numbers are gonna have to get tweaked if they want people to buy Wrecker. Like if they just want to remove Wrecker from the game, then just do that because this is basically what it's doing in my opinion. Cauterize, I'm pretty cool with these Cauterize changes. Cauterize was 100% buy every game for pretty much every champion. Um, so the fact that they're reducing it, I would have liked to see it go from 24 to 60% and more reduction in heals from the supports. But I'm cool with this as well. The price reduction does match, but they did add a little half-second increase to the duration. So overall, okay with the Cauterize changes. Rejuvenate, they're just nerfed Rejuvenate to match. Veteran, they buffed it. I don't know. I think they should have reworked Veteran. I don't think Veteran's a very cool card. Not very interesting. Not really that cool. Just a slight buff. I don't think anyone's gonna really buy it, even with the reduction in price. So overall, looking at the item store, I like the idea they're going for. I think, you know, making these items a little less weak, but you get more of them is alright. I do kind of wish they kept some of the items at their respective prices though, like, or not the prices, the respective power levels. Like, I get they nerf Nimble, but 30% is a lot different than 21%. At level at level 2, you get tier 3. So like if you look at these prices the way they nerfed it, you can get tier 3 for the same price you got tier 2 to get the 21%. However, you no longer get the 30% if you do have those extra 900 credits. So it kind of is removing some fun from the game, like Morale Boost and Nimble. I thought those were really fun cards to pick in the right situations. So I'm a little sad about that. But the incremental upgrades are fine, and I can't wait to see what it really does to the meta. I'm not too sure. I know this Wrecker stuff is gonna be the big deal though. That's the big one out of the item store. Okay, so there is a lot of changes for all these characters. So I'm gonna try to just give you guys a general idea of what's changing and the main things, because otherwise, like I said, this video is gonna go way long, and we'll talk about each specific role after that. So first off, the big changes for Ashe is battering ram being reduced to 75%. This is going to be a pretty big deal. I think Ashe is going to die a lot more in her dash. She's not going to be able to play as aggressive, but I do think this is a good change. I'm happy with that change. I'm not going to really talk about the shield changes because, like I said, every single tank got shield changes, so we'll talk about all of them at the end. But I will bring it up that Fortress Breaker no longer increases the shield health by 3,000. It is now 2,000. Slugshot now increases your damage because they are nerfing Ashe's damage. I honestly don't like this. I already thought Ashe was one of the weaker damage champions, or weaker tank champions in terms of damage output. So I actually would have been cool with leaving Ashe at that damage marker of 400. But I think this will bring Slugshot into the meta quite a bit with Battering Ram nerfs and Slugshot. With Battering Ram and Shield Breaker nerfs, even though this is like across the board type thing, Slugshot I think will be picked a lot more. And maybe Mr. Sadak was a little ahead of it. They reduced the base shield health for Ashe, and they reduced her cooldown. The cards for Ashe are basically just small number tweaks. Not much there. Really, the only thing that's a big deal in my eyes is Gatecrasher getting changed. It's getting the reduced cooldown is a lot less, but they did reduce the CD by 1 second. Overall, it's going to be a 4 second instead of 6 seconds, so it actually is a nerf to Shoulder Bash if you did run 5 points in Gatecrasher. However, I think it's a good nerf. Moving on to Atlas. Atlas got a really large damage reduction on his left click. He's relieving 10 damage per shot which ends up being 750 damage at a full charge shot. And he's also getting his second chance rewind time nerfed by a second. Um, he is also getting a really big card change. Hitting an enemy with setback reduces the cooldown of stasis field. That's probably his biggest card change by far. Actually, kind of insane card. It's probably going to be run as a 5 of, in my opinion. It's actually just bonkers, just absolutely bonkers card. Um, I'm not sure how this works with the lob card. If you hit multiple people, will it give you 10 seconds off your CD and your shield? Not really sure on that. My gut feeling is telling me it's not going to work like that, so this will probably be an insane card in big wall and okay in small wall or setback. Moving on to Barrack. Barrack's tinkering got nerfed really hard. Fortify got the base 1000 shield nerf. His base shield got reduced to 3000, so with Fortify it is now his normal shield. They increased movement speed while Rocket Boots is active, and they removed double time. Double time used to be the increased movement speed of Rocket Boots. They removed that, and now it heals you. They did a lot of changes with his boots build. His boots build, with all these changes, they reduced his health of the shield by 150, along with the tinkering nerf. I really think that that build is almost completely dead. That build got completely neutered this patch. This insane reduction in damage, along with the shield being nerfed by half, it's pretty bad. However, they are trying to, it seems like they're trying to introduce like a Fortify style build along with turrets. They buffed his turrets quite a bit in this patch. They increased the health by 400 for each turret without any cards, but they reduced the base deploy time, which means it's going to start firing a second early. With all this considered, I actually think Fortify will be the meta build next patch. People aren't going to be running Bowling Ball as much. I think it might still be run a little bit. However, there is some interesting cards with his turret that are getting added. The first one is Field Deploy. It used to reduce the deploy time. They got rid of that because obviously it doesn't make any sense anymore. I guess they could have changed the numbers, but why not just rework it to something different? Now it hits your turret, or hits with your turret, heal you for 60 health per level. That card actually seems pretty good. Because of this card, one man's scrap. When your turret is destroyed, heal for yada 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 was the old card. Now, when a turret destroyed, reduce your active cooldowns by 10 per level, 10% per level. So basically, along with Fortify and getting your turrets down, you can get your shield up literally non-stop. So it seems like Fortify Barrack might be really strong along with the record changes. 5,000 health shield with Fortify, you're going to have to buy record to get through that. And record being so weak, that might not be that easy to do. Like you might not be able to find areas to do that. So I actually think Barrack because there is one thing to note about this tinkering change. It does not affect his base gun. His base gun is not getting touched, and his base gun was already pretty okay. Like it was definitely underrated just because tinkering was so good. People just thought his base gun was bad. And Barrack, all these changes considered, I'm not a huge fan of it. And this is why. I do like the changes to the Fortify, and I like the buffs and the changes to the turrets. The reason I don't like this is because they completely destroyed his current playstyle. His current playstyle is really fun, and there's a reason a lot of people love Barrack right now. So I would like to see changes to this base playstyle. I'd like to see nerfs to them, but not quite this much. This seems like too many nerfs. In my opinion, give Bowling Ball back. Bowling Ball could stay at 300 health and it would be fine. And I think this deck would still be good. Also, one more change I didn't mention that's actually a pretty big deal. Healing Station, a card that almost everyone runs, is getting nerfed to 10 health per second less, so 35 health per second. A lot worse. Not a lot worse, but a decent amount worse, to a point where I could see people not running that card anymore. Fernando, Scorch now deals 30% more damage to first target hit, and it reduces the damage on subsequent targets. So Scorch is getting buffs. Before, you had to hit multiple people with Scorch to get value out of it. Now, you just get value out of it on the first target hit, and you still get some multiplier. So it's not going to multiply as much if you hit like 3 people, but that happens so little that I don't think that matters. His Flame Lance reduced the self-slow. That's a good change. They did some changes to his Fireball. The cooldown is going to be a little longer, but what they did is they added some charge cards, some charge cooldown reduction cards. So there's going to be some kind of like Nando Fireball charged deck next patch, which is pretty cool. I like the Nano changes a lot. Inara, Inara's got some really cool changes. They are changing Tremors. Your Impasse now has 2 charges. The cooldown is reduced to 12 seconds, but you cannot destroy the walls anymore. But hey, you never really need to destroy your walls if you put them in good situations, but I could see this being backfiring on you. There's sometimes where Inara's like wall something off, they don't realize someone's on the other side, and they cancel it. Now you can't do that. But it is a cool idea. I really like the idea of it. I think 2 Inara walls, that's sweet. If anyone saw that clip of me not too long ago, there was 2 Inara walls, and it was pretty funny. But now the same Inara can do it. um, Definitely a cool talent change. I'm not sure it'll be enough, even with this change to make it better than Mother's Grace, because Mother's Grace is so strong. Like I think they're gonna have to nerf Mother's Grace a little bit to get Tremors played, but I do like the change. Impasse, they reduce deployable health, obviously, because Bulldozer is getting changed. This is a pretty big nerf, 3,500 HP. Pretty big deal, in my opinion, actually. Like, Anar walls will die. They will die at 5,000 health if you shoot them. Her cards, not really much different. Lodestone, increased ammo gain, an extra level. The other cards are kind of meh. Overall, I like that they didn't hurt Anara's damage. Her damage wasn't her issue or anything. I do wish we saw slight Mother's Grace nerfs. Not much, just slight. That's my thing about Anara. So moving on to Khan. Storm of Bullets no longer provides extra ammo, which is actually a pretty big deal. Along with the resilience changes to 20, 40, 60, I think Grip Con will definitely be meta. I think it'll be the best pick. I think the 10 ammo is actually a big deal with Storm of Bullets, and the fact that it's not there anymore, I think 100% Grip Con is now meta. They did reduce his damage, which is actually a nerf to Storm of Bullets as well, because Storm of Bullets increase your damage by a percent because it increased your attack speed. So this is actually a bigger nerf to Storm of Bullets than it is to Grip Con. So again, I think Grip Con's going to be better. Battle Shout, they actually buffed a second, but if you look later, there's a card in which they nerfed it by 0.4 seconds per level, which was a card everyone ran at basically 4 or 5 points. So Battle Shout is actually getting a huge cooldown reduction nerf, and you're not going to have to run as many points as this. Battle Shout is a lot worse. As well as Khan's shield is getting a massive nerf, 3,000 health. Khan's shield is so much worse this patch, so much worse. I'm not really sure what they're thinking of nerfing it that hard is, but Khan is a lot worse this patch. Looking at his cards, really not much different. I mean, they changed this shield card to be a flat 200 per level, and I actually think this shield card might get played now, just because of how weak his shield is, and the fact that Wrecker got nerfed. I could see this shield card getting played. Besides that, really the other card changes aren't that big of a deal. Moving on to Koa. So Koa is an interesting character this patch. Interesting. Because of this thing right here. Leviathan no longer grants crowd control immunity. Yay! Right? Let's go! Wrong. They are giving it to Koa at his base kit, so all 3 talents will now have crowd control immunity in his ult. I'm not sure about that one. I honestly was going crazy when I first heard this. I was super happy. I think it was the thing they needed to change about Koa. The fact that his ultimate just has no counters right now. And then now to give it his base, you know, sure, I'm cool with it. If you're going to put crowd control in his ult in 1 talent, might as well be all 3. But I do think this needs to get removed. I think Koa, with this in his ult, he will always be one of the best champions in the game, alongside the rest of his kit. It's just too strong, as long as you have this in his kit. So I would have liked to see that like to see them get rid of that. Pluck, they increase the damage bonus, not that big of a deal. Half Shell did not get changed. This is the change though for Half Shell. They reduce his shield health by half. For Koa, I don't think this is as big of a deal as Khan. I think Khan relies on his shield a lot more than Koa. But this does hurt Half Shell quite a bit. So Half Shell got a huge buff with this, but because the shield is so weak now, Half Shell actually got nerfed a ton because your shield reduction card relies on shield health. If your shield has lower health, you're not getting as much reduction on it. So half shell is actually getting nerfed quite a bit. Dredge Anchor, a minor increase in cooldown. They changed how his cannon. He's got an extra ammo and 100 damage nerf. Sure. This will definitely hurt him a lot. I don't think his 100 damage is really what set him apart from the other tanks, but it will hurt him a lot for sure. His cards, Rampage got nerfed. Rampage is the card that gives movement speed after eliminations. Great. I honestly think you can nerf this another second. This card at 6 seconds was absolutely insane. So I really like that change. They buffed Ancient Resolve, not a big deal. Barrier Reef, they did reduce the damage threshold to kind of, you know, even up with the shield health, but it's not the same. It's it's so much worse. Like it would trigger twice last patch. Now it's gonna trigger once. Barrier Reef is a lot worse, which definitely affects half shell. Carapace got nerfed for the shield nerf, but I could see people maybe running this in a half shell deck just to get that shield health up. Barrier Reef still wouldn't proc multiple times, I believe, because you only can add 1,000 health. So yeah, Barrier Reef wouldn't even proc multiple times still. This card is just really bad now. Everything else wasn't not that much other big deals on the other changes, but overall, Koa, interesting changes, interesting for sure. Rom got a slight damage nerf, and they reduced his damage reduction on Hellish Lodestones, which was a pretty meta card. Everyone ran that card at 5 points. So, pretty decent nerfs for Rom. I don't know if it's enough to make him bad. I still think he's probably really good. Ruckus got quite a few changes. The main one being this right here. Missile Launcher is now 3 charges in your base kit. The cooldown is slightly increased, and the damage is slightly nerfed, but that being in the base kit is insane for Ruckus with Aerial Assault. Along with how his damage isn't getting nerfed, Aerial Assault is really good next patch, and Ruckus might be one of the best tanks. If not the best tank. Probably not. Not with Koa in the game still. Ruckus is definitely really strong next patch. They are changing how Rocket Barrage works. It used to be the 3 charges of missile launcher. Now it just increases the area of effectiveness. I don't think it's going to be good enough to run. No one's going to run it. As well as Ruckus getting a few minor shield health nerfs, which I think it matters for his emitter. His emitter is honestly going to be really good next patch because of how bad Wrecker is, because it's only getting nerfed 500 health. Flux Generator is still bad. Don't run it. Moving on to Terminus, Shatterfall got a cooldown reduction. Reanimate got nerfed quite a bit. That's actually, I kind of like this change. At first I wasn't too keen on it, but the reason I like it is because it will bring it'll like allow tanks to actually touch the cap. Before, Terminus could die on cap and completely zone the cap, which I thought, I don't know, it took away a little strategic play, just because if all the tanks were dead, you pushed it in with Turmoil. Now, if a tank's alive, or sorry, if all the tanks were up and they had Turmoil and they couldn't touch, like Term would just push it in. Now, if tanks are alive, they can get over that threshold, they can live through that ult and maybe contest the cap, while damages cannot touch. So now it allows tanks to touch those points and get in those areas where Term was negating, but it negates damages from doing it. So it's kind of interesting. I think it'll increase the strategy around Reanimate, and I think it's a pretty solid change for it. Besides that, Terminus got a lot of card changes, a lot of very minor stuff. Really nothing to write home with. Some buffs for sure. I don't know if it'll be enough to make a meta, but it could. It possibly could. Abomination got a pretty good buff. Playing God got nerfed, which people were starting to run. I think it was bugged a little bit, so people didn't run it, but they wanted to, because it is a lot of healing on your siphon. But that getting nerfed it's probably a good nerf. Probably a good nerf. So yeah, that's Terminus. Terminus, I don't think these changes will be enough to make him like really good, but I definitely could see him getting played more next patch, because he didn't really get any damage nerfs, and all the other tanks got nerfed really hard with the shield health getting nerfed, and he obviously doesn't have a shield, so he doesn't get nerfed by that. Same with Inara, actually, now that I think about that. But I guess Inara's wall got nerfed, so there was some nerf for her. Torvald, okay, so Torvald I'm not even gonna go through. These are just, look at all the changes here. It's all just super minor, little like 1 second, half-second stuff. The biggest deal is protection got nerfed by half, which is a pretty big deal in my opinion. You're probably still gonna have to buy Wrecker against it. The one thing about it is it did get its cooldown buffed, so it will come up more. Um, Field Study got nerfed another 5%. Besides that, I guess thanks Grandpa, it might see play now because Field Study is so bad, and now instead of increasing duration, it increases health, so it'll be a 1500 health shield on a 6-second CD. So that'll be pretty good. Besides that, everything else pretty minor changes. I still think Torvald's gonna be really bad. So overall, I think tanks took heavy nerfs this patch, and it's definitely not a good time to be an off tank. Point tanks, I actually think, are in a pretty good spot. I think point tanks will be very strong next patch, with the reduction in Wrecker, and their shields didn't get hurt as bad. So right now, off tanks, take your master ridings, take your resiliences, because that's all you guys got. That's it. Everything else, you're screwed. All right, moving on to sports. Solar Blessing, for Furia, they want to make Furia into like a beam healer more than a Cherish healer. Cherish got nerfed really hard because of this right here. Lightforge used to reduce the cooldown of Kindle Soul, which is your heal. It now is now changed to Kindle Soul reduces the cooldown of Pyre Strike by 5 seconds at base, and you can reduce the cooldown of how much times it can come up. So basically, Furia is a lot worse in my opinion. Beam heals, getting like Solar Blessing, your Pyre Strike being reduced by 40% speed. It's gonna be like more consistent hit, but it might not even get to the person. It might not even get there, so you just die. You don't even get the healings. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of Furia changes. I think she's gonna be a lot worse next patch, almost like really bad. Um, Definitely one of the weaker supports. Grok did not get changed, so that means Grok is getting buffed because Cauterized got nerfed. Interesting. He's indirectly getting buffed because of item changes. Grover got minor healing reduction. He has a quality of life change with his Vine. It now has a UI marker and it no longer fires when you're not attached to something. So that's a pretty big cool change for Grover Vine. Definitely cool there. I like that. Blossom did get a 150 health nerf on each heal. They did increase the base range, but they hard nerfed Verdant Expanse, which is the radius increase on your heal. That's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal on that. His radius is going to be a lot less at max level. Before you can get 50% of 60, you can get up to 90. Wait, actually? That actually might be a straight buff. You don't even have to run Verdant Expanse anymore because so this would be 80%, would be 20% of 80 at max, which would be 96. So actually, you're getting at 5 points, you're actually getting 6 extra units out of it, and at 1 point, you're getting very close to what you would have to put 5 points in. So actually, Verdant Expanse is like along with this increased base range is actually getting a slight buff. So that's kind of interesting. You're gonna have to run a lot less points to get about the same value. You basically get like 4 units per level. So you can put in like 3 units and get more value than if you put 5 points. That's actually pretty good. They reduced the cooldown reduction on Perennial. Everything else was they had this hitting an enemy with crippling throw reduced the cooldown of Blossom card. I actually think it's really bad. I don't think you'd run that over just base reduction. So overall, Grover got some healing nerfs, which makes sense when they're nerfing Cauterize, and he was already really good. Io, big nerfs to Io, big nerfs to Io. They obviously thought she was as good as I thought. Goddess Blessing is going from 25% back to 15%. I believe it was 15% originally, and they buffed it because no one was running it. So now it's to 15. I think people will still run it because Lifelink is getting destroyed. They're reducing the healing from 300 to 180. A lot of people run Lifelink, and that is a big deal. A big deal. 120 health per second is a lot, and Lifelink was already kind of weak in my opinion. Sacrifice, they're now resetting the cooldown of Luna's deploy when you trigger Sacrifice. Not a big deal. I really don't think this changes that much in Sacrifice. They are nerfing her healing to 120 per tick. That is 30 per tick. I'm not sure what that comes out to in seconds, like healing per second, but it really doesn't seem like that much to me. Io was healing a lot at 150 per tick, so 120, I think it'll be in line with the cauterize changes. Besides that, the other big change for Luna is this card right here, Moonwalk. I'm really upset that they're taking this card out. I thought this card was so much fun. What it used to be was it lowered your gravity, increased your air control while using. Oh wait, no, 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 no. This is fine. Okay, no one used this card because Skywalker was the one that was really fun. So yeah, no one used this card. Now it just increases your moonlight capacity. Okay, I'm cool with this change. I like this change. Yeah, this change is good. Increase your moonlight capacity. People are going to run this in a heal IO for sure. You ran out of healing quite a bit actually, and just increasing the capacity is nice. So yeah, this is a cool change. There's a card that when you're left clicking, it has the same effect, which is really fun, and that card's still in the game. So I thought that was this card, but I just read it completely. Genos, they're increasing his damage and power cosmium, whatever. Not many people ran that anyways. They are increasing his base ammo by 6. They are reducing his healing by 40 per second, but also reducing the cooldown while nerfing the cooldown card for his heal. Overall, I don't think this healing nerf is actually that much, and I think Genos is getting buffed. I think this is a buff this patch because the cauterize changes is about the same as this, and Genos being what he does, his luminary didn't get touched, and that's the best part of his kit. So I think Genos this patch with all this stuff, buff to his ammo, buff to the cooldown, because this is only a half second at max level, and he's getting a roost by a second, so his heal is gonna be up a whole half second more this next patch. So I think Genos got buffed for sure. Maldamba, they're taking out Wakono's Curse, which I'm totally cool with. Wakono's Curse was meh. And why does Maldamba need 2 damage talents when he's a healer? They are adding a new healing talent called Ripen Gourd. Gourd no longer damages enemies, but its healing effects are doubled. That actually seems interesting. I could see this be getting used because Spirit's Chosen is getting nerfed. Ripen Gourd could be viable next. Could be like the meta talent next patch. I don't know yet because obviously I have to play around with it. But double healing effects on Gourd seems pretty good to me. Mending Spirits is also getting nerfed by 30 health per second. Not a big deal, honestly. It's pretty in line with the cauterized changes. For me, a lot of these healing numbers aren't getting changed enough. Like, I think supports are actually getting buffed. So, Damba had a lot of card changes, and mainly the card changes are affecting Snake Toss Damba. There is one change to heal Damba with Swift Spirits. They're reducing the movement speed by 2% per level. Not a big deal. I think this card will still be run. 25% at max level is still going to be pretty good, especially considering Nimble got nerfed. So it's going to be still better than Nimble. Nimble 3. So the other cards that I was talking about that they nerfed, Snake Toss Damba, is this right here. The movement speed for 3 seconds after Slither ends pretty much always ran in Snake Toss. Really good card in Snake Toss, actually. Also, Snake Pit. They used to get like 20% reload speed in your deck at the start of the game. Now you don't have that, and they're replacing it with a card that's just plain terrible. At 5 points, you'll get 10% movement speed. That is completely atrocious. No one's gonna run that. At 20%, maybe. At 30%, for sure. But 10%, no way. Overall, Damba, I like the changes in terms of the healing. I'm kind of sad they're nerfing Snake Toss Damba as hard as they are because it's just a fun build. And I guess I kind of understand it because of the resilience nerfs. Like Snake Toss could be a little anti-fun, so they want to weaken it at the knees so that it doesn't really kind of overtake the meta, which makes sense. Like no one likes getting stunned that much, but it is kind of sad because I love Snake Toss and I really wanted to play it next patch. Moving on to Pip. I don't know why Pip's in the sport category. We all know he's a damage. Come on, let's be real. He's a damage, but we'll talk about him as a support. Combat Medic reduced healing by 50. I think that's fine, in line with the cauterized changes. Catalyst got nerfed by 10% damage. So overall, Catalyst is actually getting nerfed a decent amount because of this card right here. Escape Artist is getting changed. It used to be damage reduction during waitlist, and now it has increased the duration of waitlist. I do like the change of it, and I kind of do like that they're getting rid of the damage reduction. I think it was kind of anti-fun, and I think Pip should be able to hold his own without it. I kind of wish this card was a little bit more fun, but increasing the duration of Wayless is good. I think people will run this card. Besides that, nothing else really changes. Some minor changes to his Wayless cards. His Healing Potion is getting nerfed by 200 health, in line with the cauterize changes. Overall, Pip, still about the same next patch. I think damage Pip is almost dead, to be honest. It was on the edge of being dead last patch, or this current patch, and now I think it's completely dead. Heal Pip, honestly, Combat Medic is probably the only viable talent for Heal Pip. I think this 200 damage nerf is going to hurt Mega Pot a lot. Mega Potion is going to be a lot worse. It's only going to be 2,000 health instead of, 2,400. So that's going to be a pretty big deal. I don't know. Is it enough to in line with the Colorado changes? Probably. It's probably going to be enough to where it's going to be about the same, but it is a pretty big nerf to Megapot. Moving on to Saris. Saris has a lot of changes, but the main thing really is her Restore Heal. It is getting nerfed by 600 health, and also the cooldown is getting changed by 2 seconds, but it's actually getting nerfed. This is a weird situation where one of her cards is getting changed right here, Soul Forge, which everyone ran at 5 points. So no longer can you get it to 1.5 second cooldown. Now it is always a 2 second cooldown. So it's a minor nerf, minor buff, because now you don't have to run this card at 5 points. You can put points in other cards, but honestly, Saris's cards are like meh. Like, do you really care about this 5 points? Not really. You're a support. So overall, I think this is actually a pretty big nerf to Saris. I don't think that this heal change, like this buff, is going to be enough to make this massive amount of healing reduction a big deal. But the one thing that could save her, is the new Soul Forge card. Now, it increases the range in which Restore Soul heals adjacent allies by 4% per level. So you can actually increase that range by 20% now, which actually could give her a decent amount of AoE healing. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to make her a viable healer again, like one of the top healers. I probably don't think so. I actually think Saris is going to be really bad next patch. And the changes to her Shadow Travel, giving her the base 25% movement speed, isn't going to be enough. I don't think it will be. Because I believe they're changing Veil. They actually are nerfing Veil quite a bit. 5% per level. Not a ton, but a decent amount. So overall, I think Saris got worse. And this is actually extremely insane to me. Ying is not getting changed. Ying next patch, healing-wise, is going to be insane. Her heals will be nuts. So overall, for me, Ying getting a buff indirectly because of cauterize changes, Ying is going to be really good next patch. I mean, morale boost getting nerfed obviously hurts her because her ult's so strong, but I don't think the morale mattered that much. So overall, Ying is a huge winner. I think supports are a huge winner this patch. I think they're going to be a lot better next patch. Like, they're definitely better than tanks. Like, they definitely took better changes than tanks this patch, for sure. Like, for sure about that.